I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camp's RC. 100,000 subscribers. Thank you. That's right, guys. We did it. 100,000 subscribers. I hit the roof of the 100K club. So thanks again for subscribing over the years. It has been a lot of work to get to this point, and no one knows it best than my family. They've seen me with my ups and downs on this YouTube channel. The struggles is real. If you're trying to do YouTube, it's extremely hard to get any views on YouTube, just starting out with your first videos all the way up to when you get more popular. And it is definitely a challenge. So I want to say thank you for hanging in there with me and enjoying the videos that we've been producing here on the channel. I put a lot of work into it, blood, sweat, and tears every single day, working pretty much 6 days a week for you guys. But yesterday was super awesome because I did hit that 100,000 plateau, and very exciting because YouTube is going to send us the Silver Plaque Award, which I'll share with you guys coming up on the channel. And what was also significant about yesterday, not only did I hit 100,000 subscribers, my 2-year-old twins became 3 years old yesterday. So it was their birthday and I hit 100,000 subscribers. So 2 thumbs up for that. That was super awesome. And I actually did take the day off yesterday. I didn't do any videos yesterday for you, so I apologize about that. But we had to do some celebrating here at home. And today I'm back on it. We have something new from FXT here for you. I have the Mars S and the Black Knight to show you guys. Something new for the FPV community. Also, if you want to click on my Patreon and become a $1, $6, $20, even a $75 supporter here on the channel, you can do that. And look at all this swag I'm giving away. This is tons of stuff for August 2018. By the end of this month, we're gonna do that swag drawing, and we're gonna give away first place, second place, and third place winners on our Patreon only giveaway. So check that out. It's pretty simple and easy to get signed up for. Plus, you get live Discord chats with me almost every Saturday. I sit here in the shop, I work on my new builds on Saturdays, and we just sit around and talk live on the internet. And it's really cool because it sounds like you're right there in the room with you. So for my $6 and up supporters, they get those live chats, and it's really, really awesome to talk to all you guys. We're making sort of a closer knit community and connection with you. And it's really neat to hear about your builds and address some of the questions that you guys have about FPV related builds or any type of gear, honestly. And you know I'm totally addicted to it, so I love answering your questions. But I am super stoked to be in the 100,000 club. So finally we're here at that plateau, and it's really awesome to be right here at 100,000 and rising. So we're looking forward to 250,000 and 500,000 and hopefully getting to that million mark at some point. But I'm just gonna keep trucking along as usual and do what I love. So let's go ahead and get started with today's dual review. We're gonna review the Black Mamba by FXT and the Mars S micro FPV camera. Now this is a company that's been around. You might have heard about FXT before on my channel. The FXT Viper goggles were pretty popular out there, and a lot of people were checking those out. They are pretty good because you can wear any type of glasses, reading glasses or otherwise, with the Viper goggles, and it works really well. And if you don't know about FXT, they've been around for a while. They've been around for actually for years making FPV cameras. They were one of the originators of the little micro all-in-one cameras that we had on the channel. And I used to build those up with brushed motors and put little tiny micro Frsky flight controllers on there. This is probably 2 to 3 years ago now, in the beginning of that micro brushed evolution. Not brushless, brushed. We started out brushed and we worked our way up to 1102 motors and little tiny whoop style brushless setups. And now we're all the way fast forward into 2018. We have some really cool micro brushless quadcopters. But today we're going to talk about the Mars S. I'm going to take you outside. We're going to fly that. And we're also going to take a look at the Black Knight video transmitter with smart audio. Pretty sweet little setup. And you also have camera control options with that one as well inside Betaflight. So very nice. If you haven't used camera control yet, it's super awesome. No more do you have to go in and fiddle around with the little joystick connector. And there's only one wire that goes to your flight controller to activate that camera control, which is really pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and unbox the Mars S, and I'll show you a little bit about that camera versus the Runcam and the Foxeer Predator, and then we'll take a look at the Black Knight. So this is the quad that I flew the Mars S on, and I have to say, I'm going to go ahead and get honest with you guys about this review right away. This does look very similar to the original Predator 1 I did see a little bit of blue hue in this camera, but thank goodness it does have that scene setting change, so you can change your different color modes on here. So you might be able to get rid of some of that blue tone that you do see. It was pretty foggy and smoky out the day that I flew it, but I still did see some of that hue. Now this is a 1000 TVL camera, and this one is actually the model number on this one is the T71. So if you're looking for that particular model number or the camera that I'm reviewing, that is the one here. Let me see if I can get that to focus real quick. There we go. Mars S specs right there. And they do have different color camera cases that you can get. They have 2 mounting points on the very side of this one. Some of the other ones that I've seen have 3 on there, which is kind of nice. But they also don't include any type of adapter that will bring this one up to that standard camera size for mounting on cameras and on quads that don't have that particular micro mount. So one thing to think about there, maybe FXT can do that in the future, include that little adapter like Runcam does. Runcam recently started including this little plastic ABS adapter. The Runcam just slides right into it, and then it becomes a standard size camera, which is sweet because you have both options. But if you look on the back of each of these camera cases, they do tell you the information about your cable harness that goes into the camera. You have 4 to 36 volts right there. That's a pretty good voltage range. So you could almost run this straight off your battery connector without frying this camera, which is super awesome. You have ground there. The next cable over, it's going to be video, OSD, and power right there. And notice something about this case that's different than the Runcam. And I've complained about some of the Runcam micros before because the PCB is hanging out. And I've destroyed quite a few of the Runcam micros and the Predator cameras, mainly because that PCB is exposed. And this case is kind of nice because it encloses everything inside this hard plastic shell, so you don't have anything sticking out except that little 2.1 millimeter lens right there. So in my opinion, this is a pretty good design from them, and it's actually a little bit shorter in length than the Foxeer and the Runcam, which is kind of cool. So this is the camera inside the case and the 2.1 millimeter lens sticking out the front there. It is 129 degree field of view, and it does appear to be quite smaller than a lot of them, a little bit shorter than some of the other cameras out there. This is the new Foxeer Predator version 3, and it seems like I just had version 2 like a week ago, but they already have a version 3, which is nice, and they've addressed some of that blue hue issue for the Foxeer camera, so that's really cool that they're listening there. The only other camera out there on the market that I've seen right now that has an enclosure on it is that Runcam Racer, and this one's quite a bit smaller and lighter than the FXT Mars S. So very interesting there. If you're looking for a shorter camera, this one has a very low latency, which means it sees the image transmission really quickly, which is great for racing. Now this is the original Micro Swift right here, and the FXT is just a little bit longer, same exact setup on the back there, size, but it also has that PCB sticking out there, so nothing protecting the board there. And the same for the Foxeer Micro Aero. That PCB is also sticking out there. And we'll just show you a little bit comparison for the length. The FXT looks to be a little bit longer, and some of these micro cams were actually pretty short. This is the Sparrow 2, Micro Sparrow 2, and that one's also a little bit shorter than the Mars S. And then this is a standard size camera so that you guys that are new know what the difference is. And I'd like to see that they include some kind of converter for these in their upcoming releases, which would be really nice for customers. Now also in the box they do give you this little controller right here, and this will take you into the menus, and you can change your brightness contrast settings, take the OSD on and off the screen. They also give you a mount right here if you want to mount this to any type of frame that doesn't have that sidewall mount. You can do that with this frame. You can get those extra cases, which is cool, and they have a service card in here, and it's kind of funny because it does say that it does have a 30-day refund except for any man-made damage. So if you crash it, it's your fault. 90-day replacement except for any man-made damage on 1-year warranty for parts and repair, lifetime customer support, which is super awesome. And they have their link on there. It's szfxt.com for their website. And you get some extra cables in there, and you also get some mounting hardware. And you also get an extra cable harness right here, but it's wired up to the Black Knight right now. And just show you this Black Knight a little bit closer up. And this is the one that I was telling you about that has Smart OSD on here, so you can go into Betaflight and activate it inside your ports tab. Once you have it activated, you can use your sticks to navigate and change your channels, which is super cool, or your camera settings. And the Mars S does have camera control on it as well, so the best of both worlds with this type of setup right here. But this one goes all the way switchable up to 400 milliwatt on 5.8, which is kind of nice. And it does have that MMCX connector here, which is great. And you have side mount options as well, or you can just put a little bit of VHB under this guy and you can hard mount it to your quad with a little bit of maybe a small zip tie around this guy. And you want to be careful of that, because you do have these little push buttons on the side right here, which are going to help you change your channel and your band right there if you decide to do it manually. And you might have also noticed it does have a little port right here, and that's for connecting to this cable, which connects to your controller. So you actually have a physical controller on here as well. If you want to use this instead of using the little push buttons, you can actually go in and change your VTX settings with this little controller. So nice option that they give you, either the smart audio version, or you can do the controller, or you can do the push button. So quite a lot of options on the Black Knight. It's a pretty nice looking VTX. So let's get really technical now, and let's go ahead and set these on the scale, and let's get some weight on these cameras. Looks like we're bumping up to 7 grams for that Mars S. The Foxeer Micro Aero, that's coming in at 6. The Runcam Racer is coming in at 5. The Micro Sparrow 2 is coming in, just under 6, 5 grams. The original Micro Swift there, 6 grams. That also has this little mount thing on there, so that's probably more like 5. The Predator version 3 is 5 grams. Wow, that's not bad at all. And let's go ahead and weigh the Black Knight. And that's coming in at 7 grams. So quite surprising that this board is weighing 7 grams, because for the size of it, it's actually a little bit larger than some of the other VTXs I've used recently, and it's actually pretty light for how big it is. So there's a lot of cameras out there on the market right now, but it looks like FXT is kind of coming to the table with their own version of these micro cams for our quads. So this is pretty cool to see someone else hopping in the game. But like I said, FXT has been around for a long time, and they also have really awesome customer support. If you do email these guys, they'll email you back, which is awesome. Or you can look them up on their Facebook. I'll try to put their Facebook link down below. But anyway, let's go ahead and check out the Mars S camera. I'll show you what this all about. We'll talk about this camera on the screen as we're doing some flying. Here we go, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and get this camera in the air, and let's talk about some pros and cons. Now, I'm using a different video transmitter right here, so don't take any points away from that Black Knight. This is something from the Diatone GT setup. Now, I still do have my Diatone GT OSD still in there, and you can see the FXT OSD is down at the bottom there, and you can take that on or off the screen, no problem. You can go into the menus, and you can also set the voltage to show the current voltage, which I don't have the wire hooked up, but I just have the 3 wires hooked up on here for you guys. And mostly what we're doing is I want to see how fast this camera is. I want to see sort of some reaction time. I want to see shadows. And we also want to talk about color, contrast, brightness, all that stuff. And resolution, as always. Now, looking at this camera right out of the gate, the first thing I noticed was, looks like another blue hue style camera here. And it's not, I don't think it's quite as bad as the Predator version 1. I know some people did compare it to that one. It looks very similar. The sensor looks, kind of has a very, very rich blue sky, but all the colors down at the bottom of the camera still seem to be pretty true. The green in the trees looks good, the definition on the ground looks good, and when I come in closer to the trees, I don't see a lot of variation between light to dark. So if you have a camera that really sucks, when you go fly near a tree or a shadow, you're gonna see some big differences when you go into a shadow. You'll see basically everything looks black, and up against the side of a tree there, if you can see the definition in the trees along a shadow line, that's a really good camera. And a really bad camera is going to show you nothing but black along the side of a tree. And I won't name names, but those companies know who they are. I'm just playing around out here over the marsh a little bit sketchy out here, because if you crash out here, there's a barbed wire fence in between this bit of the marsh and my big field over here. So I'm going to try to stick to this field, but resolution on here looks good also. 1000 TVL looks pretty sweet. It looks a little less choppy and blocky than the Runcam Racer. I know some of you guys had some issues with the Runcam Racer. You didn't like how sort of pixelated it looked. And the Mars S camera actually does have digital noise reduction on here, so should be a little less noisy and grainy than some of the other cameras out there. Now you're gonna get some chopped up interference when you go in between trees like this, and that's to be expected with pretty much any VTX, unless you're running about 800 milliwatt. And right here I think I'm running in 200, so when you get a little bit further down that field, you're gonna see some breakup or get down close to the ground, more than a couple hundred feet away. That's gonna happen, but this looks pretty good. Let's try another battery. So here we go on our second battery number 2 for you guys. So what do you guys think about this camera? What's your opinion on this one? Make sure to make a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. If you're into racing, man, I almost lost complete video right there. If you're into racing, in my opinion, so far, I think this is a pretty good camera for racing, mainly because it seems to have a very low latency. I don't see a whole lot of lag in this camera. When I'm close to the ground, the frame rate seems pretty high, and it seems like it has a pretty low latency and pretty fast. It kind of reminds me of the Runcam Racer a little bit, with maybe a little better resolution. And the colors look pretty decent. I can't complain about the color too much. It's not quite as much of a blue hue as some of the other ones. I kind of like this camera. Now if they do reduce the price, that would probably be pretty good. I think the lowest price I've seen, the older one I think goes for around $30, and I think this one's around $39. And there is a Pro version, I believe, that is about $1 more. So if you wanted to go for the Pro version, you can check that out in the link below. I'll try to put the link directly to their store so you can check out more of the specs for this particular camera. But not a bad camera. I can probably say 4.0 out of 5 on this camera as far as the star rating goes. They do have some other models on there you can check out also. And I'd like to see that conversion block in there included with their accessories, maybe on the next version. And that's so we can mount it onto a standard size quad frame. We don't have to print out a TPU mount, a camera mount. That would be sweet. They can make that in ABS. But looking pretty good here. And I'm going to go ahead and probably sign off here, guys. Thanks for checking out this FXT camera. I think it's pretty nice, and they're onto something here. And like I said, probably about 4 stars out of 5. And we'll have to see what Oscar Lang rates this one at. He does a lot of latency testing over on his website. And then we can find out what the true latency is on this camera. But they do say on the FXT website that it has a really low latency. So pretty decent race camera. Not bad. So thanks again for watching, you guys. We're at 100,000 subscribers, and I am super stoked about that. Very stoked. So I'm headed out to do some more flying again today, guys. Have some other stuff to test out for you guys. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I'm Justin Davis, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.